must say, I think it was the last shadow cabinet elections before the general election when we got into power, and the Independent assessed, they had a pen portrait, it was a bit like a football programme, they had a pen portrait, they had a portrait picture for successful candidates, and then a pen portrait, and they snobbily awarded us points out of 10 for new Labourness. And according to them, so they must be right because they were journalists who did it, I was to New Labour what the Norwegian entry usually is to the Eurovision Song Contest. I was new plan. I describe myself as Heritage Labour, and I'm shortly going to make an application to the Heritage Lottery Fund to get something to improve my facade. Also add that I'll tell you what my prejudices are. I went to a primary school in a village outside York, in the East Riding of Yorkshire. I was the first boy in 1951. Some girls had done it, but I was the first boy to get through the 11 plus, right? And I was pleased with myself, but I thought it was rotten and awful that other children who were in my class, who I knew were as clever as me, because children always know who the clever ones are, don't they? Better than the exam system or anything. I always thought it was rotten and unfair that some of my friends didn't get through at that time, and I've always believed that selection by any method is wrong, and that's why I've always believed in comprehensive skills. When you look at the people behind the Academies programme, you know what they're trying to do is to reintroduce grammar schools with another name. They want prestigious schools in an area which will be outstanding, which will attract the better pupils and the better teachers, and lo and behold, they might even get the better results if they do that. They'll have more money, and they'll have all the status, and they'll have all the favourable publicity, and the other schools will have less money, less status, and less favourable publicity. And so we all know what these people are about. And one of the things that really strikes me is when you raise this matter with some of our parliamentary colleagues, they say, well, we got to do it before the Tories did. In other words, it's a Tory policy and we better implement it first. And that's another reason why I'm very strongly against it. And here in Camden, we've had the awful spectacle, and I'm told by people who were at a meeting about 2 years ago that the people from I can never remember, but the government department that deals with schools, whatever its name is, the people from there were people from Camden, there were people from University College, and they sat round and said of one school, ooh, with a bit of luck it will become a failing school. And we're waiting for the results. And then it had the most improved results of any school in London. Heartbreak, cast down over that. Ah, well, maybe it'll get a bad Ofsted report. And then lo and behold, it got a good Ofsted report. So they forgot about academising that school and decided they'd build one at Swiss Cottage in Hampstead. Not anywhere near the most deprived wards and the most deprived children and the children most in need of a top quality education. No, it'll be in Hampstead. And then they thought it was really good because some of the rich parents who send children to private schools in Hampstead have actually said, oh, if we got an academy up here sponsored by University College, we wouldn't need to pay to send our children to a good school anymore. We'd get a free one on the doorstep. Well, is that really the ultimate object of a Labour government's policy? And I personally don't think it is. We've been told by University College, well, who are you going to have on the board of government? Well, we'll have local representatives. We'll have people from the British Library. We will have people from the Wellcome Trust. We will have people from the board of University College Hospital. Well-known democratic bodies, all of those universities. any of the parents. And so there is a vast campaign building up yet again to get a new secondary school in this southern tip of Camden, which presently has 10% of the children, but no secondary school, and we need a 10th secondary school. Otherwise, the children from around here go all over the place. But everything is being sacrificed in the interests of an Academies-promoted academy. But I think, if I may, I'm not usually apocalyptic, and I'm certainly not usually philosophical, but I think there is an apocalyptic and philosophical point to make. I believe that in some cases consciously, and in other cases unconsciously, there is currently a drive common through the leadership of all three major parties, through the newspapers and through the corporate sector, to turn our backs on democracy and go for corporatism. The snide, snivelling criticisms of the democratically elected local education departments, many of whom, some of whom did a bad job, got to admit that, but most of them did a pretty good job. And they're being sneered at now, and somebody who's, made a fortune out of pornography or second-hand car dealing, they're obviously, clearly, ethically and managerially superior to these elected people. And those are the sort of people we're promoting. And I think it is deep down, deeply dangerous. And therefore, I do join with the owner in saying things may be difficult, but this is no time to give up the campaign, because there's only one thing for certain. If you don't fight it, they will win. If you do fight it, we stand a chance of winning. If we don't fight it, we know we'll lose. And the final point I'll make is this. I'm not going to stay any longer. I promised I would go and see my youngest son and daughter-in-law and my newest grandchild, and just to say that, like my other children, they went to what's now South Camden Community School, the nearest secondary school, and then the youngest one went off to Kingsway College in the sixth form, where he met the young woman who's now his wife. I was always delighted with the education they received at two institutions, neither of which are particularly well thought of. But they did a bloody good job for large numbers of children who, under the previous grammar schooling regime, would have done very badly. And I think under an academy-dominated regime would do badly too. So keep it up.